Welcome to my first video in this series that I'm doing on negative core beliefs. This is, I believe, the idea about core beliefs that there are some deeply held, deeply embedded beliefs that we can have about ourselves that can influence our feelings in negative ways. This we get from cognitive therapy. I think that the idea of core beliefs is one of the most valuable things that we can pull from cognitive therapy. I can share that I feel really lucky early in my career to be trained largely psychodynamically and even having some psychoanalytic mentors. And yet, because a lot of my training took place in hospitals, then I also learned cognitive therapy. I also then later in my career began learning evidence-based practices. And so I feel really lucky to have a whole toolbox of different type of therapies that I can pull from in doing clinical work and also in leading trainings. Well, I want to talk today more about one specific type of negative core belief, and that's why this is the first in this video series on core beliefs. This belief that many people suffer from, the belief that I am defective. I am defective. Now, I want to explain that there are two different types of negative core beliefs that one can have. Some of the different deeply embedded beliefs you have may fall under the umbrella of helpless core beliefs. That if you really look closer at the beliefs that you have, they fall under this general umbrella that you may feel helpless to change, helpless to have better circumstances in your life, helpless to be more effective. On the other hand, a whole other set of negative core beliefs can fall under the unlovable umbrella. So if you look more closely at the specific beliefs that a person may have, ultimately they come back to this core idea that I am unlovable. And of course, everyone's different. And so that is something that each person can determine which fits better, which do they suffer from more. This underlying belief that they may be unlovable or this underlying belief that they may be helpless. Again, remember, these are core beliefs. It's not core facts. So it doesn't mean that if you feel this way or you believe this, that it's true. What it does mean is that if it's a deeply held core belief, that you may have carried it for years, and that having this negative belief that you can carry through life with you may, in different circumstances, make you more prone to feeling sad or disappointed or lonely or angry. Why? Because cognitive therapy helps remind us that the thoughts that we have then lead to certain negative feelings that we have. Okay. So negative thoughts can then lead to negative feelings. So, in talking again about this possible belief that you may have, I am defective, you can have it in two different ways. If you have it in the helpless category, that it falls under the umbrella of just feeling generally helpless, it is that I am defective because you are afraid you don't measure up to others, that you are defective because you somehow aren't as good as others. There is a comparison going on, and you don't measure up to others in that comparison. This is a core belief that you may tell yourself. Now, there's also the possibility that you have that same core belief, I am defective, but your version is a little different than the last person. Your version of I am defective falls under the category of the unlovable core belief problem. That yours is different than the previous one we went over. For you, I am defective, you may believe means that you are not lovable. That is a deeply held negative core belief that some have. So you see the difference. Two different people can have this same exact core belief. I am defective. But for one, if you look closer, it's actually more about this root belief that the person has about feeling helpless, not being able to change their circumstances, not being able to grow, not being able to be better, not being able to evolve, feeling stuck. I am defective. So that's where you get that sense of helplessness versus another person whose belief is more about I am defective. But because I'm defective, it means that I won't get loved. I won't feel love. Ask yourself with that comparison, first of all, whether this is a core belief that you can relate to. And if so, which of those two categories, the helpless version or the unlovable version, fits better with you? And as I will do in each of my videos in this video series on core beliefs, a good cognitive therapist or a good cognitive behavior therapist can help you specifically with this.